Awesome. Good morning, everybody. I'm Calvin Decker with CodaBears. I'm going to go through the Kinetic tips and tricks. And these are things that we have just found. I know there's been a lot of discussions online and a lot of requests from Epicor to build a tips and tricks document, but in the past 5 years or so, it hasn't been done. So we're going to try and do this now and at least get the ball rolling. I'm going to go over kind of the areas that we'll hit, and then we'll dig a little deeper with each one of these. Let's go. So you can personalize your home pages. It's no longer when you personalize the home page, it's for everybody. It's literally yours. It follows your user ID. You can export your personalized homepage and share that if you want to create like a departmental, hey, this is customer service and how we're going to roll this out to everybody. You can also leave ones that are private just to you. On those home pages, you can put a lot of information in there. Do definitely take a look. Pinning tabs is now possible to the home pages. The home pages work well with Epicor data discovery. So if I want to have a query go out and tell me how many shipments are ready for invoicing, I can display on the shortcut for AR invoicing how many invoices or shipments are ready to get billed. If the quantity is 0, the person doesn't even have to go in and look for it or run the report for it. In the old system at version 10, a lot of people complained because you would run the report and then it would error and you'd have to go to the system monitor to find that it errored. You don't have to do that anymore. We can put a shortcut that says how many invoices are ready to be created. You can also embed shortcuts to websites, putting a link into FedEx or UPS, putting a link into the bank, going off to a customer's EDI portal or a web-based portal. This can now be added right onto the Epicor menus. One thing that I do recommend, because I still find everybody is changing the terms. What's a hamburger menu? What's a waffle? What's a phone pad? Standardizing a nomenclature for how you're going to describe the icons throughout your whole office. The overflow menus are also now in the system where everything is put. This is kind of what used to be the actions menu, the help menu, and the tools. They kind of flowed into the overflow menu, and you'll find these are the horizontal dots or the vertical dots in the top right corner of the screen. The menus, favorites, and recent is a complete overhaul. You can now search the menu, find exactly what you want. You can build your favorites. You can turn around and look at your recents. I had one person that told me they only use 5 items in Epicor. Well, then just go to your recents. You don't need to make a favorite because they'll always be sitting there right on top. We're also going to talk about some cool browser capability, which is also kind of like your recents. The help system and the resources is a whole lot further than what F1 used to be in the software. I can now get to Epicor's knowledge base. I can search ideas. I can turn around and embed an AI bot into the help system. There's videos, there's tutorials. There's an entire array behind the new help system that's now in Kinetic. Notifications and settings. You can still get to the system task monitor through the settings and notifications, but you can also see quickly from the notifications what's going on. So when you request a report or you request a process to go, you're going to get a little orange yellowish dot on top of the system bell that's going to tell you, hey, you got something running or it's done. And finally, we'll take a look also at the browser power, because you can now, I know a lot of people like to have single sign-on. Like, oh my gosh, we have to set up Epicor for SSO. If you're running Kinetic 23.2 or newer, you already have SSO. It's baked into the software. We'll talk about how to do that with browsers and using browser groupings, browser tabs, so that, yes, when you come in, you just open Chrome and here's all your Epicor shortcuts. We'll also talk in detail now of that personalizing the home page. I can add panels to the home page. So when I'm in Epicor, I can have home, I can have sales management, I can have inventory right across the top and have shortcuts to each one of those. On those panels, I can add any type of widget here that's in the list. So if I want to put a BAQ grid of data, I can write a query of all shipments not invoiced. If that grid has it, I can put a shortcut that says, go to AR invoice entry. I can also put an app link straight to AR invoice entry. Grow metric is now available as a widget. I can put images. Yes, you can put images. I would not recommend turning around putting a scrolling picture show inside Epicor, but yes, you can. I can also reference local applications. If I need to, I can get to Excel, I can get to Word or Outlook by putting a shortcut to it inside on the Epicor menu.
Question from Scott. Are personalizations of home pages still at risk of loss when client cache is cleared? Seems to happen a lot with E10.
In E10, that was. In Kinetic, people have not been reporting this. We can also put text labels. So I can say, here are my order icons, here's my manufacturing icons, and I group them together. I don't necessarily have to just scatter them all over the screen. I can give some text labels. I can also call web-based applications. So if I need to get to the bank portal or I need to get to a customer's portal, I can put a link to that web-based application. That may be a step a little bit higher than just a website showing me information. While websites are available, I do recommend that we don't put YouTube, unless you're going to the CodaBears website, radio stations. These should not be on the Epicor menu. It's going to slow down your user experience by doing that inside the application. That would be better having a web browser outside, but you can listen to a radio station right inside Epicor. The Epicor data discovery links are really nice. We'll take a look if I have any in the samples, but by putting together a data discovery widget, it's fairly easy to do, and then we just add that data discovery link right onto the menu, such as how many orders have not been turned into a job? How many jobs do I need to schedule? I can put these right on the tile, and if the person sees they have something, they know they got to get their work done.
Hey, Kelvin? From Kim, do you modify the out-of-box home screen or create a new one? And can you publish the screen for all users or a group, or it's just yourself?
Wow, Kim, that was a 2-yes answer. You can create new home screens. You can modify the ones that came with the system. I want to say there was a supply chain one, a sales, and a finance, and then a real dorky one that went to sections of the menu. I think the default one that comes out of Kinetic still goes off to modules most people don't have. So those have to be fixed. So it may be easier to start over and build your own exactly the way you want it. Once that's done, you can turn around, save, export, and share it with people. When you turn around and have authorization to save it, you can turn around, save it, go to other people's profiles and set what their home page is going to be when they load. You can also, and I recommend doing this, is develop a standard nomenclature for your icons. When you look at Epicor, you want to be able to say, oh yeah, go to the hamburger menu, and someone else is going to say, oh, I thought that, I'm sorry, Hannah, but it was a kebab menu. No, the horizontal dots could be a kebab menu. The vertical dots may be a shish kebab too. It's coming up with a nomenclature that everybody's going to work with on the same, so that when you're communicating about the Epicor interface, there's no translation within your office, such as standardizing that nomenclature and the overflow menus. This vertical kebab or overflow menu is going to pop up and give you the options that apply to the area that you're in. So if I'm in order entry, I'm going to see the actions and things that I can do on an order. If I'm on a grid, it's going to show me the things I can do on the grid. If it's going to show me the home page, this is what I can do. And this is where I can edit the current. I can change the layout. I also have solution tracking, tracing. We'll talk about tracing. This is kind of fun. A little bit later, we have the developer mode still, and I can go ahead and change my user still. Now in the bottom left-hand corner, you also have the ability to click on the settings and just change your user, your company, and your plant right there directly, or workstation. Yes.
From Brett, can you create a new menu and roll it out to all users within my company and not do this one computer at a time? Your menu changes should take effect across the board, don't they?
Correct. So you would go into user account security maintenance, set what their default home page is going to be, and that's what they get. You don't have to go computer to computer. So here in Epicor Data Discovery, I can put how many orders have been received this week. I can do the total dollars that were billed out this week. I can do total dollars this quarter. I also get a lovely graphical representation. It's not as powerful as like Power BI or Tableau, but it's going to be a good representation. You want to keep your graphical representation of data simple and visible. I probably wouldn't use a scatter chart for a total sales dollar. But I may want to use a speedometer and say my goal was 100,000 today and I'm at 80,000. We got more to go. Making sure, I'm going to say probably talk to someone in mathematics background or someone like a graphical designer of how would we best represent the data so people can understand it with a quick view. Not saying you have window lickers, but hey, you want to make sure everybody understands the information the same way.
Actually, there's a good post in CodaBear's social repost from somebody that said, here's how you choose the right chart. I'll see if I can find that link.
Awesome. So data discovery can be thrown onto one of your panels. I can have multiples here, purchase inventory, the regular default home tiles. This integrates with that home menu seamlessly. When you launch a data discovery tile, you can also drill in and pull up the metrics, see the actual data that made that tile. So I don't have to go over to the BAQ and run the query and then look at the raw data or dump it to Excel, look at it. I can click on the discovery tile, go straight to the data, change my filters, change my grouping, and slice the data a different way without ever having to write a query. In addition to data discovery, there's an exploration view. So do I want a pie chart? Do I want a graph? What do I want in here? We'll also see some samples of what's already in the system. So that exploration view is continuously being added to. Take a look at it. Some of the things that you're looking for are already out there. Just go ahead and click on the Discovery Exploration View icon to see everything that's in here. Additional tips and tricks is our screen shortcuts. I get the request all the time. Can I program F8 to do this, F6 to do this? No, that's not allowed because the function keys that are on the web browser is what's controlling it, not what's in the application. This is a web-based application inside the browser controls. So screen shortcuts that are out there. Can I add a new record? Can I search for a record? Can I look at the overflow menu, such as, hey, I'm an order entry, so I can get a quote and pull it into an order? These are the tasks that are available in the horizontal overflow. The vertical would be here for the grid. What can I do to the grid? Dump it to Excel, copy everything.
One question on data discovery I missed. Is data discovery an additional module or is it part of the base?
It is an additional module that you would have to get from Epicor. It is not base product that's included.
Oh, I thought they included it with a simple one with base. They don't, huh?
I don't believe that anymore. I think you have to purchase the regular data discovery, turn around and create your own information that you're looking to put out. Thanks, Jared. Also, I can filter the grid. When I filter a grid, each of these becomes a box where I can say, hey, show me anything starting with a customer ID of ADD. And it's just going to drill the data directly to that point. I know there are a handful of people that wanted to see, hey, show me all of this stuff when I go. I want the regular list view when the system starts. There are a handful of these things up on ideas, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The other fun thing that I find people don't know, when I'm on this record and I pull up order 5470, there in the overflow is a share button. I can email this record to another Epicor user, and all they have to do is click on the link to go pull up that exact record. Sharing information from user to user is a whole lot easier. Sharing information outside the organization goes nowhere unless they have an Epicor login. It does follow security rules. So if your payroll manager gets mad and sends the payroll roster over to someone on the shop floor, when they click it, they're not getting into it because they don't have the credentials for that area. They'll see the link, they just won't be able to use it. And this was what I was meaning. Is this a waffle? Is this a phone pad? What are we going to call this? And making sure Epicor is now giving some names to all these things, but you will find on some screens the same icon repeats. So is it the grid-based icon? Is it the screen-based icon? Is it the detail panel icon? Because you can have 3 or 4 different layers of icons depending on where you are. There is also a debug tool that I'm sure people can ask Hannah questions about this up one side, on the other, probably Priyanka too. This is kind of like the trace in the old classic view where it told you this is the business object I'm calling, this is the data I'm passing, this is what I get back. The debug tool tells me what API calls being made, what data is being passed, where do I need to go to get this information. If you ever want to know how did a sales order get written and what all to go through, turn on your debug tool and you'll be able to track all of the activity the system's doing. Again, it's something I don't find a lot of people using. So right-clicking is still available. Right-clicking doesn't work everywhere. So if you find an error, please report it to Epicor. There's my plug for Epicor. When I have a sales order number, I can right-click on it and I can look at the BPM holds. I can open it with order entry. These are customizable. You are not limited to what's in this list. It's called a context menu. If you want to open this with your own dashboard and pass that order number into it, you can do that. This is out of the product base. This manual is fully updatable. Can you go in and fix the Epicor shortcuts? Yes, but I recommend sending that to Epicor. There are a few where when you right-click and open a job, it actually opens the job tracker, but the screen doesn't say job tracker. The only way to know you went to the wrong area is all the fields are grayed out. You'll find a few of these throughout the system, and it's just getting a request over to Epicor to say, hey, load the app for entry rather than for the tracker here. The same information, doing searches, tagging records, predictive searches, and quick searches, these are the same as they've been through the years. I know Fred wanted me to really talk about this one probably. Chevrons or breadcrumbs, I've heard it referred a few different ways. When I drop down on the order chevron, I see the order numbers. When I drop down on the order, I would see the lines. So based on where you are in the breadcrumb trail, these chevrons adjust so that you can quick navigate. You don't have to go back to the main screen, then go put in another order and then navigate to that order. If you want, just type the order in the search and click enter, you're there. A lot of people didn't know these breadcrumbs were functional. They are. When you are on a grid, the grid has a different set of right-click capability as well. So if I were to right-click on an order number field in a grid, I would get the ability for the order number. If the field is not related to a right-click, you're going to get the grid context menu. And you will see in the newer software, paste new and paste update are now starting to show up on these as they fix them.
From Eric, does anyone else have issues using the right-click context menu when in the Kinetic BAQ Designer run query grid? Have you run into that, Calvin?
No, but now I'm
I have
peaked.
not either. If anyone has, go ahead and type into the questions or chat window and we'll follow up with Eric. We can also forward that off to Stump the Chump.
That would be fun. Like I have not heard of having problems with the right-click context menu in a BAQ. So menus, favorites, and recents. Searching for menu items. When you are in Epicor, if you want to find a menu real quick, just click on the menu and say, hey, show me order entry. It'll take me straight to all the menus that have this. And everybody will applaud here because now when I go into the menu, I can also say BAQ. I don't have to type out the whole thing. They finally put the shortcut BAQ into the menu item so that you can search for it without having to type business activity query in the search. Favorites, organizing your favorites. So I can have a favorites menu, but in my favorites, I can say these are manufacturing, these are my sales shortcuts, these are my finance ones. The recent applications, on the recents tab, it's going to show you everything you've accessed in Epicor, I think up to the last 25 clicks that you've made on the menu. Again, if you're not in more than 25 items, your recents menu should be your default primary menu. The help system now, as I mentioned, has videos, articles, guided instructions that tell you where to click. Click here. This is what this is for. while I would not say this should replace your consultant that's going to teach you how to use the software, it's a great way for onboarding a new employee that you want to get into Epicor so that when they do go to the training session, they're not a deer in the headlights. Field level help is still out there. It's not 100% fixed, but you can get the gist of what's going on with most fields. A lot of the newer fields aren't having all of the information put into them, but the fields that have been in the software like 20 years, definitely that information's out there. You can also say include results from Epicor Tech Support. So when I turn around and ask to search a help topic, here on my little help icon, we'll go to the Help and Support Center. I can say include support results. So this will go out to the Epicor knowledge base, look there and see if there's any topics as well as what it has in the help system. Again, additional help and support, the Learning Center, Epicor, EpicWeb, Epicor Ideas, these are all shortcuts now in the help system. You don't have to say browser shortcuts anymore, and if Epicor fixes them like they did the identity provider, one login for them all. So notifications are in the bottom left hand, and this is the bell. When something occurs, it tells you what you ran, what happened with this login. The little yellow dot means you have notifications that you haven't seen yet. And then down on my settings or my profile, I can change what company I'm in, what site I'm in, what workstation, what language. I don't even know why they put this in here, but you can create keyboard shortcuts. So I guess you can't create them. It created them, but this is what exists. So I get questions, hey, can I make a shortcut to go straight to add a new order line? Not really. Can you do that with like a mouse control macro? Yes, that would still be there, but you have to do it on top of or with that mouse macro software. But these are the keyboard shortcuts that do exist.
Okay, you got about 3 minutes left, Kellen.
Got it. And we got a handful of questions coming in here.
Yeah, I was going to save them for Stump the Chump at the end.
Okay. Browser power, I'll just try and wrap this up here. When I open a web browser, I can tell the web browser to save that tab. So if I open order entry, I can say save that tab. Then I can open job entry and I can say save that tab. I can put both of those tabs in a group in my browser, whether it's Edge or Chrome. Then when I open up the web browser, I can say open the whole group, and Epicor will go log you in to those tabs. You can also label those tab groups. So you can say, this is my sales tabs, this is my manufacturing tabs. Doesn't matter, doesn't take up more than one license. You can personalize grids, columns, screens, and the sorting of what's being done, bless you. And you can zoom in and out, which I find a lot of people don't know that. So if I want to turn around, zoom in, I can do that. Probably shouldn't do it necessarily on the menu, but if I'm on a list view and I want to see more records, I can zoom out and see them all. The same way you zoom in and out on your browser, you can do that inside the application or still in the browser. So we had a couple of questions here. Anyone else?
Yes.
Okay, the right click will turn around and answer that one, Eric.
Do you know how to keep the field level help on permanently? We are on latest version of Kinetic cloud-based. Every new screen open requires clicking it back on every time.
It is per the screen. There's not really a way to set it as a default setting across the whole system. Now, if I set it here on the menu and I go into order entry, I'm going to take a look if the question marks pop up here and if it cascades downward. If this is no, I would have expected to have seen some of the little question mark bubbles.
Lastly, because then we got to jump to Priyanka, is it possible to default the include support results checkbox?
I don't think you can personalize the help screen. I will take a look here right now. No, there is no personalize, so I can't turn around and necessarily change it. I would think Hannah or Priyanka might know a way to shortcut it, but that would be a customization behind. That would not be necessarily base product or personalization.